What's up YouTube? It's Heretic here. Welcome back, and we are going to take a look today at the deck list for the Golisopod deck that I played against Reno in our previous video. And I'm going to go over one card that I actually didn't run as well when I get to that point, and where I would what I would cut to add it in. But so that's pretty much just a meta call. So this is somewhat based off Shintaro Ito's list from the Japanese national tournament. So which he got 3rd place with. You can find that list on the Charizard Lounge. Andrew Wembolt put up all the top 8 lists there, plus the 1st place for juniors and seniors. Pretty cool thing to look over. Obviously, they have an XY on format, whereas this is Primal Clash, since we're still talking Worlds format. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. So we have 4 Roll It, which is pretty much just every Decidueye deck. I mean, that's just a given. However, we only go with 3 Dartrix and 3 Decidueye, since it's not our only Pokemon we're trying to get out in this match, and unlike the Vileplume builds, we do have Versus Seekers in here that are taking up slots as well. So 4/3/3 Owls. If you want to make room for the 4/4/4, I mean, obviously with Decidueye, I totally get it. Usually you want to get 3 Owls out, so it would be perfectly understandable. We also have a 3/2 line of Golisopod-GX. Again, we have revitalizers to be able to get these things back, so running only a 3/2 seems to be okay. Again, though, if you wanted to bump it up to a 3/3, if you can find the room, you know, like I said before with Decidueye, if you can find the room, by all means, go for it, as long as you're not hurting consistency elsewhere. Because having more copies would definitely help consistency in getting your Pokemon out. So, for those of you who don't know, Golisopod-GX is a pretty interesting Pokemon. For 1 grass, it does 30 damage, and if it was promoted from your bench to your active in any way or switched up to the front, during the turn you use this attack, it goes from 30 all the way up to 120 damage. 90 additional damage, which is insane. 120 for 1 grass. And with a couple of Feather Arrows and a Choice Band, you could be hitting a total of 190 damage, knocking out pretty much any big basic in the game. And it's got a couple of other attacks, both for a grass and 2 colorless. 100 damage for the 2nd attack, with damage reduction. Any damage that Golisopod takes during the next turn is reduced by 20, which is whatever. And then its GX attack does 150 for that same cost as the 2nd attack, and then it jumps to the bench, which has some neat synergy with the 1st attack, first impression. So that's Golisopod, 210 HP, grass type stage 1, so obviously it's forest and giant plants friendly, at least until rotation. So it's a pretty fun card to use, pretty nifty attacker. Then we have 2 Lele's, just to be able to search out supporters, because that's pretty good. My big tech card, which you guys would have no doubt seen in the match if you watched it, is Necrozma-GX. This is a hilarious card in my opinion to use in Decidueye builds, just because you can spread 100 damage to all of your opponent's benched EX and GX Pokemon, and then Feather Arrow after that cleans things up pretty quickly. Not much if anything is going to survive an attack from Golisopod either, once it gets hit by Necrozma's big GX attack. So you're not really going to use, like, I've rarely used Golisopod's GX attack in testing. More often than not I've used Hollow Hunt, but I think if you can get off the Black Ray GX with Necrozma, then it's usually almost always worth foregoing the Hollow Hunt for that game. Now, this is a meta call, obviously, if you're expecting a lot of the big EX-GX decks. If you're expecting more decks with smaller attackers, or maybe just more evolution decks in general, you can cut it for the Espeon EX, which is always a really good card in Decidueye. And by not running this right now, I'm actually breaking my own cardinal rule of Decidueye, which is that you have to run Espeon EX in it. But Necrozma, I wanted to take Necrozma for a spin, and it worked out pretty well the game I got to use it, so I'm not going to dismiss it just yet. I think it's a really cool combination for this, so I'm actually going to put Espeon off to the side here. Since right now that's not exactly a thing in this list. We have 1 Shaman just for draw power, and then 1 Tapu Koko. Damage spread. Free Retreater is really good for to be able to use with Golisopod if you Acerola it up, or if you use Guzma and you just bring Tapu Koko up with Free Retreat. Also, Flying Flip just really good in Decidueye as well. Supporters, 4 Sycamores, 3 Ends, just normal draw supporters right there. Then we have 2 Acerola, which lets you pick up a damaged Pokemon from your board and put it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So after Golisopod swings, takes a hit, bring it right back to your hand, force a giant plant, lay it back down. And then 2 Guzma as well, which is just another way to let Golisopod switch out and then come back up to the active via retreat off Floatstone or Tapu Koko. Or if you have 2 Golisopods set up, just switch between them. So that's our supporters. We got 4 Force the Giant Plants, obviously, to get our evolutions into play. We got 4 Versus Seekers, and 4 Ultra Balls, just the norm. 2 Level Ball, and 2 Revitalizer. Shintaro actually ran 4 Revitalizer in his list, but he also had access to Battle Compressor, which just made it so much easier. Also probably made the condensed evolution lines a lot simpler, so... Obviously, I would not expect this to be as explosive as his list, since he did have access to Battle Compressor, but this still was running pretty optimally compared to some of the other Golisopod lists I've been working on. So I'm still pretty happy with what we ended up here. 2 Floatstones, just more synergy with First Impression with Golisopod. 2 Choice Bands to be able to raise damage even higher. And then we have 4 double colorless energies and 5 grass. Because you're also going to end up attacking with Decidueye at some point. The double colorless works out beautifully with Necrozma. You can swing with Lele because of it, Tapu Koko. So lots of reasons to include it. If you really wanted to like go the Espeon route here, let's say, and maybe you wanted to focus more, like a little less on the owls and more just on trying to get First Impression every time, you could probably cut 1 or 2 double colorless even and just add more grass energies. I could definitely see that working out. It really just depends on which route you want to go. Like, I was really going back and forth with my energy count when I was putting this deck together, and even now, like, still kind of thinking, like, do we want to go 4 and 5? Do we want to go 3 and 6? I could definitely see being optimal too. So I think it really just comes down to preference and play style and all that stuff. But for right now, this is the list I have for you guys for Golisopod Decidueye. You could also play Golisopod with Evolutions, Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon from Ancient Origins, at least in the Worlds format, seems really good. You could play Zoroark with it, with Mind Jack, or you could try to play Promo Lurantis, which going forward into the post-rotation, that might be the better way to play it, but right now I just feel like it has some serious consistency issues, so I'm not entirely sure if I like it at the moment. But when the Evolutions and Force the Giant Plants rotate, I don't know, we might have to look a little differently if we want to keep this thing afloat. But for now, this is a pretty darn solid pick. Golisopod is a fantastic card from Burning Shadows that no doubt I feel like has the potential to be really good at the World Championships. So this is the Owls version of the list, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Cheers!